Hey y'all, welcome back. DG Hamblin here with a few things I want to say. It finally happened. I predicted it. I thought that it would possibly wait until after Trump was elected president. But today, and I'm sure all of you listening have already heard that someone tried to assassinate President Trump while he was at a campaign rally in Pennsylvania. President Trump, thankfully, will be okay. He was grazed. Perhaps his ear. Somebody was killed. An innocent person is now dead. The shooter is also dead. There are a lot of things we don't know. Who the shooter was, what their motivation was. We could speculate, and I am going to, as to what might possibly have motivated him or her. Should not assume it's a him, but odds are it was a him. Anyway, but this should have been foreseeable. I predicted this because of the left's steady drumbeat. 8 years of this steady drumbeat of hatred poured out against Donald Trump by the left, by the political left, by the bureaucratic establishment, and by their allies in the media, who, again, for 8 years have done nothing but tried to indoctrinate the public, the nation, into believing that Donald Trump is the worst human being who has ever lived. And this is certainly not true. As I said a week ago, or maybe 2 weeks ago, the left is willing to go to any length at all to try to stop Donald Trump. They've proven that time and again. From the very fine people on both sides lie told about Donald Trump when he spoke about the incident in Charlottesville, Virginia. What's that, 7 or 8 years ago? The Russia hoax. We've heard is how he's in collusion with Russia. Not true. We know it's not true. Much of that was based on the fabricated Steele dossier, which was paid for by the Clinton campaign with campaign funds. Has she been prosecuted for that? No. Has she been prosecuted for the way that she handled classified material? No. Has anybody else been prosecuted anybody else? I mean, anyone who was a former president or current president faced any prosecution for the mishandling of classified material? No. Have others done it? Yes. Biden and I believe Obama and maybe one other. Not even a search warrant served at their house, right? How do we know they turned everything they had in? We don't know. Okay. To the repeated impeachment attempts. Again, one over Russia hoax. And the other attempt, well, they're not impeachment attempts. He was impeached twice. Found not guilty. Was not convicted either time. The second one for the January 6th debacle, which took place, and they blamed Trump for this. He tried to give them National Guard troops to help maintain peace there. And Nancy Pelosi, and who the Capitol Police report to, ultimately she's responsible, and as I understand, she has somewhat admitted some responsibility because she did not accept the offer of troops. Turn those down, and so then there's this big riot. And there was kind of two events at the same time almost. There was a riot. There were also those who were there peacefully and wandered into and wandered around the Capitol. But none of that would have happened if they had accepted Donald Trump's offer of National Guard troops. They turned it down, and then they want to blame him for the aftermath. He had the foresight to prevent what happened, and they refused. So we have had this 8 years of this steady drumbeat. This tonight was absolutely a foreseeable event. Maybe not the exact time and place. I do not know anything about the place that it was held other than what I could observe from what I saw on the video footage. It's an open air stadium of some type. It is not too uncommon, especially in older open air stadiums, to have buildings which can look into the venue there. And so I wonder if this was one of those. The shots, to me, this is just based on what I could see, what I observed, a little bit of my training, 22 years in law enforcement, and spent a lot of time on SWAT and investigations. Anyway, I'm a little fired up. It appeared to me that the shots came from his right. Others tended to look that way. His head was turned that way, and it appeared that the bullet grazed his right ear. So it couldn't have come from in front or behind. It'd be hard to graze when the head is turned if it's coming directly. It couldn't have grazed his ear because it would have been hidden and from behind him. So it could have come from behind him to the left, but it appeared that it came from the right. I was able to count 9 shots. I heard 9 shots total. I don't know if any of those were somebody returning fire. Perhaps that's why the gunman is dead. I don't know. Yeah, and I expect YouTube's going to flag the heck out of this video, even though I'm a nobody, and you might have 10 people see this. I don't care how many of you see it. I want someone to see it. Again, I predicted that they were going to try to kill him. I predicted this a couple of weeks ago. Okay. Again, this was a foreseeable event. They should have known that something like this was likely to happen. And perhaps the left did. Perhaps that's why they kept up this steady drumbeat of hatred. Maybe they wanted to stir people up to the point that some crazy loon, one of the millions of crazy loons on the left, would take a shot at him. I have family members who are much farther to the left politically than I am. And we have a family's chat. And as soon as this happened, I put something out about it and said that President Trump was okay. The first response that I got back was, that's too bad. Okay, let me continue on. It was about a month ago. I've already alluded to the search warrant at Mar-a-Lago. Let's talk about that a little more. There was the search warrant executed there, and about a month ago or so, the media jumped all over President Trump because he pointed out that in the search warrant, deadly force was authorized. And these agents who came to serve the search warrant were there in plain clothes and unmarked vehicles. And I don't blame him for pointing out the obvious, that a presidential candidate with Secret Service protection should probably not have deadly force authorization. I'm a little torn because I've served lots of warrants and I've never served one that didn't have deadly force authorization. But this is a former president with Secret Service protection. All it takes is a phone call a few minutes ahead of time. Hey, we're on our way to serve this warrant, as a heads up. The ones that would have been exercising any type of forced resistance would have been the Secret Service agents there. Okay, one of those who just hammered Trump is this hack over at the Atlantic. I just pulled up one, and I just want to we should touch on some of the early details in her story. Juliet KM, whoever she is, and I'm assuming her pronouns, and I don't apologize for that. She said, first of all, the first line, like the subheading under the title. Her title of the story is Trump's Assassination Fantasy Has a Darker Purpose. I'm going to warn you here. This is some of the finest, the finest gaslighting that you will read in a news story. And her subheading says, the ex-president's stories of his own victimization make violence by his supporters far more likely. We already know who is more likely to exercise violence in support of a political ideal. We only have to look to BLM and to the my brain just did it to me again. Antifa and others. How about the nut that shot up the congressional softball practice? I mean, that guy was on the far left, a supporter of Bernie Sanders, he and I don't agree politically at all. But Bernie Sanders, I do not think, would have wanted anyone to go out and to exercise any type of violence. Yet, something that he said inspired the shooter in that instance. Okay, she goes on to say, when Donald Trump insinuated this week, she is reading between the lines, stuff that I don't believe was written there. Insinuated this week that his successor in the FBI are out to kill him. He showed how central violence has become to his conception of political leadership. No, he was not showing that. He was demonstrating, pointing out how dangerous this could have been, and it is in fact the left who employs violence as a central part of their taking of power. And then it goes all the way back to I don't remember now if it was 2008 or 2012, but one of the, it must have been 2012, in Chicago during the presidential election. I believe it was Black Panthers who were there at some of the polling locations, and these kind of semi-military looking uniform things with billy clubs and intimidating voters, and nothing was done about it by Eric Holder. Nothing. Okay. And from then it continued on, and it's gotten worse. Okay. The lies continue. The former president declared Tuesday on Truth Social, his social media platform, that he was, quote, shown reports Crooked Joe Biden's DOJ, in their illegal and unconstitutional raid of Mar-a-Lago, authorized the FBI to use deadly, and in parentheses, lethal force. And they did. He was simply stating a fact. Now, if she sees this as some kind of call to violence, then violence must be foremost on her mind. She goes on to say that Trump has a way of projecting his own vices onto others. No, but the left does it over and over again, and her article here is proof of that. Now, don't get me wrong. She would say that I am claiming that that somehow the FBI planned this assassination and this attempt on the life of Donald Trump. And I am absolutely not saying that. I'm not. I don't believe that. But we may never know exactly why this guy did it. Again, I'm assuming it was a guy. We may never know the shooter's motivation. We may never know exactly who else may have known about this. There's a lot of things we may never know. Hopefully, we will find it all out. Will we be able to trust what we're told about it? I don't know. But this event has certainly been, in my opinion, this has been motivated by 8 years now of a drumbeat of hatred aimed at Donald Trump because they don't like his politics and because he doesn't play by the rules and because he does things a little differently, because he is effective as a leader, because under his leadership, this country was a much better place. No matter your demographic, no matter how you identify, no matter the color of your skin, no matter your gender or your sex, no matter where you live, you were better off 4 years ago than you are today. In fact, you were better off 4 years ago than you may have ever been. Unemployment was the lowest before COVID, right before COVID. Unemployment, so let's go back 5 years, let's say. Unemployment was at the lowest ever since they started keeping record of it, especially among minorities. And you can't have that, of course. The left can't allow that to be the story told about Donald Trump. They have to fabricate this other stuff and make him out to be the world's boogeyman and hope, and I do believe many did hope, and still do hope, that some nut on the left somewhere would take that ultimate act in trying to stop Donald Trump. It almost was successful today. It might be successful the next time. I pray that they are never successful, and I hope all of you will join me in praying for him and for his candidacy.